folks, and welcome to the first episode of Questions with Quentin. Now, the show is designed to interview celebrities and well-known people who use the internet and social media to communicate with the public. We've got a great first episode. It is a lovely person by the name of Robin Reese. She's the senior editor of a website called appadvice.com and the host, writer and producer of a podcast called App Advice Daily. Here, take a look. Well, Robin's done 167 episodes so far and still going strong. I spoke to her earlier. Here's the interview. Robin Reese, welcome to Questions with Quentin. You are the first guest.
Woo! Yay! I'm so excited.
Now, we all know you from appadvice.com and App Advice Daily on YouTube, but tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, there's so much to tell. I got started with App Advice, back in the day when we were known as AppleIPhoneApps.com. It was a mouthful. But I got started here as just, a copy editor and pretty much a review writer. When I was back in college, I was just an intern here. And so I started to learn the business a little bit, got myself an iPhone. I had my Mac computer and I loved it at the time. But, once I started here and got my iPhone, it was just like this whole world opened up to me. I started writing reviews. I loved it. And then my boss at the time decided to leave the company. And so we were kind of left in this position. Well, what do we do? This intern is the only one that knows what's going on here. And so I kind of got to take over, and become the senior editor of the site, which sounds really great, but there were literally like 5 employees at the time, so it wasn't that cool. But, I kept doing that, and I started editing the review staff and started building it that way, and I kind of kept pushing this idea of doing the podcast, because at the time I was a broadcast student at Cal State Northridge. And so, little by little, they let me, do podcasts. At first, we just did, the straight phone with me doing a voiceover, and I kept kind of pushing the idea of doing, more of a news-themed show where I anchored it. And so, for some reason, they kind of went with that, and they agreed to let me, they said basically, hey, if you can do it, do it. So I built myself a studio with the help of, one other guy. Another one of the guys here built me a teleprompter, just using, stuff that we had lying around, basically. And that's how it got started, So we've come a long way, let's just say that.
Are you surprised at the success of your website and of the show? Because, you're getting fans all over the world.
It's hard to say, the entire team here at App Advice puts so much effort into the product that we put out every day, and in reviewing the applications and taking the time to contact developers and ask them questions. So, I'm not necessarily surprised at the response that we're getting, but I am definitely overwhelmed and ecstatic with the response that we are getting because, it's like, here's something that I do for you guys, basically, I love applications and I want to share, all the cool stuff that I find with everyone out there, and so the response, I'm so appreciative of it. Having fans all over the world, that blows my mind. That was something that I definitely wasn't expecting, I get questions from people in Egypt, in Paraguay, you're from Australia, you wanted to, it's so universal, and that part is definitely surprising to me, for sure.
Now, I've got to ask you a really, really personal question.
Oh, gosh. Go ahead.
Personal. Can you give us your top 5 apps on your iPhone?
Oh.
I gotta go there. I gotta go there. I'm sorry.
It's such a hard question, do you want the top 5 apps that I use, every single day?
Every single day.
I feel like they're obvious, but, I'll give them to you. You want them? I'll tell you, okay? So every single day, I have to have my IM client. I work with tons of different bloggers, so they need to get a hold of me at all times. So I use Beehive. I think that is probably the best IM client out there. You can have all your different clients in one, and just the way it works compared to IM or AIM for the iPhone rather is much better in my opinion. So we have Beehive. Then, of course, Facebook, obviously, I use regularly. I have to promote. I can't help it, and I got to keep in touch with all my people. Words with friends, obviously. I can't stop. I don't know why. This has been, on my front page for, months now. I mean, ever since it came out, really. And even today, I talked about it on my show, how someone challenged me, and I totally kicked his butt.
By the way, you are going down.
Oh. We'll see about that. Many people have challenged me in the past, and very few have been able to take me down. So I'm ready for another challenge.
It's on, girl.
Yeah, so I can't stop with the words with friends. My mom keeps telling me to switch over and use Moxie. And I've used it a couple times, but words with friends is really my word game of choice. An app that I really started to use lately, they just came out with it kind of recently, is the AP Style Book for the iPhone. If you're a writer, this is the best application ever. I mean, in school, this was I had the paper copy as my Bible, basically. But now that it's on the iPhone, it's so easy to use. It's ridiculous. Anytime I have a question should it be that way? It's right there at my fingertips. So I love that one. It's a little pricey, but it is definitely a must-have. Number 5. This is hard. Well, I guess I'll go with, obviously it's a toss-up between Twitter and TomTom. Now, I know everyone's going to hate on me for saying TomTom because it gets tons of flack. But once you get past the bad user interface, it's actually a really good application. Once you figure it out, I did not use TomTom forever because it pissed me off because every time I open it, it's oh God, I got to learn how to use this thing? Please, get out of here. And I've talked to developers over at TomTom, and they're we know, we're working on it. But, their maps are so good. The directions are so good. I'm the worst at navigation, and if I don't use it, I won't get there. And, my biggest thing is that it will actually reroute you. So, if you make a bad turn, it'll be okay, we see that you made the wrong turn there. We'll get you back going. Whereas Google Maps is just okay, forget it. I have to pull over now, So, I guess those are my top 5. I feel they're so generic, but those are really the ones that I use, every single day, multiple times a day.
Now, it's time for a very, very important part of the show. Shameless plug time!
Yes! That's my favorite part.
Okay, so, we need to give you a shameless plug. How can we get in touch with you? Tell us where to find Robin Reese.
There are so many ways. Well, you can obviously subscribe to the show on iTunes. You can just Google it. There's probably 100 ways to come up. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Robin Reese. You can also follow us on Twitter at App Advice. You can, we have a Facebook fan page. We have, where else? Oh, the best place ever, which is the App Advice app. Duh. So you can download our app in the App Store for $1.99. We have an iPad-only app, and then we also have an iPhone app. They are different. They have different themes, if you will. But you can download the app for $1.99 and see the shows daily. Yeah. And that's probably the best place to go. But other than that, if you want a free sample, you can find me all over the web. And the easiest way, just Google me, Robin Reese.
Cool. Well, Robin, thank you for being the first guest on the first episode of Questions with Quentin. It has been a delight, a privilege, and an honour.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And
it was fun.
I hope you keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. And, yeah, thank you for being part of it.
Thank you. Bye.